Hey friends, and welcome back to the Procrastination Solution Podcast. I am your host, Nilo Burke. I help women overcome procrastination so they can pursue their goals with clarity and confidence. If you are tired of spinning your wheels, stuck in self-doubt, or just looking for a fresh way forward, you are in the right place. This week, we're talking about when and why you procrastinate and what to do about it. You probably already know what you should be doing, right? But something keeps getting in the way. You might say, I know I need to do it, but I just don't feel like it. Or I'll do later. And as you and I both know, later can sometimes turn into, well, never. So in this episode, I'll dive deep into the when and the why, but will also give you specific recommendations that you'll want to try this week to help you get over the hump of procrastination. Okay? So, are you ready? Let's get started. So, when do you procrastinate? Let's start with a simple question. When do you notice yourself procrastinating the most? Take a second to think about it. Is it first thing in the morning? Is it right before a deadline? When you sit down to write an email or schedule something? You would be surprised how many of us have a pattern, and you may have never noticed this either, right? Here are 3 really common ones that I see. We tend to procrastinate first thing in the morning, in the middle of the day when our energy crashes, and right before something vulnerable for us, something emotionally charged, right? Let me go into all 3 of these for you really briefly. So number 1, you might notice that you procrastinate first thing in the morning. You wake up with the best intentions. You've made your list. You've maybe even visualized a productive day ahead of time. But the moment you sit down to get started, your momentum disappears. Instead of diving into your most important tasks, you find yourself reaching for your phone or telling yourself, you'll just check Instagram or you'll check on a friend. And then, what really is happening here is your brain is avoiding the discomfort of starting. Mornings require a mental shift, especially Monday mornings, from the rest of the action, right? And that transition can feel really heavy at times. It's often easier to default to quick, low-effort distractions that feel productive but ultimately delay real progress. Okay, so a second time you might find yourself procrastinating is when you experience a midday energy crash, right? This is another common one right after lunch, for example. Your energy dips, your brain slows down, and your to-do list starts feeling like a personal attack. I know I have learned this over the years, especially, after I eat certain things for lunch. If I am having leftover pasta or if I am having a big sandwich, I know that my energy will just crash in no time, and then I have no motivation, no momentum, no energy for the rest of the day. So you just have to think about what that midday energy crash looks like for you, and go from there, because for everybody it's a little different. So this is also normal because your brain actually burns a ton of glucose when you're making decisions or doing focused work. So that afternoon slump isn't like a personal failure. It's just something that happens because we start our day, sometimes our day might start a little bit frazzled, a little stressful, and we're expending a lot of energy. We're consuming all this caffeine, and, we're in meetings or we're making decisions all morning. And by the time midday arrives, you still have things to do on your to-do list, but your energy is nowhere to be found. And that's when, we slow down. That's when our biology takes over and we have that midday morning or midday energy crash. So here's a tip real quick. Schedule lighter tasks or, fun or creative ones in the midday hour. I like to do my coaching in the middle of the day. I do like to get coaching in the middle of the day. I like to write, podcast episodes, or I'll do, my Instagram posts. These are things that really fuel me. These are things that I'm excited about. So those are the things that I do in combination with avoiding heavy carbs in the middle of the day so that I can, help myself sort of avoid that energy crash. And another time that you might feel like you tend to procrastinate more is right before something vulnerable. So if you've ever noticed that you procrastinate, when something really matters to you, that's because it feels emotionally charged, right? So maybe writing an email, applying for a job, reaching out to a potential client, or reaching out to a family member. Sometimes when a lot of emotions are involved, you're protecting yourself from that emotional discomfort that comes with putting yourself out there. So, before these tasks, we will, pause and we will find other things to do, and then we'll procrastinate on them. We won't follow through on them, right? We'll just say, we'll do it later, we'll do it a different time, or, you forget about it altogether, right? So let's move on to the second part, which is why we procrastinate, okay? Now, most of the time, procrastination is just a mask. It's a coping strategy. It's the thing that your brain does when it's trying to help you avoid discomfort. So our brains are designed to seek comfort, avoid danger, and conserve energy. And when we ask ourselves to do something outside of these norms, our brains are excellent at talking us out of it, like any of these things, one way or another, right? It gives us all the reasons in the world, not to do the things like going to the gym and exercising, or even exercising at home, starting a project and actually working on the project. I don't mean starting like researching, buying materials for it. I mean like actually working on it. Reaching out to something or to someone for help, asking for a raise, applying for a different job, or, something like folding a massive load of laundry and putting it away, or mowing the yard, or even taking our kids out for a bike ride, right? The list goes on, but these are the things that truly resonate with me because these are the things I have procrastinated on in the past. So I want you to think about your own list, make your own list, right? Because our brains often lean on different things to keep us from accomplishing anything on this list. So our brains will lean on things like perfectionism, fear, overwhelm, and confusion as tools of avoidance, right? These are ways to keep us stuck in procrastination. Whether you call them default patterns or mental roadblocks or, tools of avoidance, the truth is this: our brains are incredibly skilled at protecting us, even when that protection keeps us from moving forward. Okay, so let's take a closer look at each one of these and also the recommendations I make for each area so that you know what to do about it. Okay, so number one is perfectionism. If you've ever thought, if I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all, right? Then you are in good company, because this is something that I used to struggle with really, really intensely, but I have, overcome it more and more over the years with the help of coaching. So there was a 2022 study that found that perfectionists are far more likely to procrastinate than non-perfectionists. Why is that? Because perfectionism raises the stakes. Perfectionism says we have to do it right. We have to get it 100% the first time. We have to have the time, the energy, all the resources, and the perfect conditions to do anything, right? From applying to a different job, to asking for a raise, to folding laundry, anything really. Perfectionism doesn't care. It wants to have it all. when we get stuck at this roadblock, we cannot move forward without intentional mindset work. We have to do the heavy lifting to remove that roadblock. We cannot move forward when we are in that perfectionistic sort of mindset. So to combat perfectionism, this is the number one recommendation I make, not only to the women I coach, but also to myself. And that is to lower the bar intentionally. So perfectionism thrives on all or nothing thinking. Lowering the bar on purpose helps tremendously. You say it out loud to yourself and you say, I am not aiming for perfection. I am aiming to be done. Or 80% is better than 100%, right? In this moment, 80% is better. Instead of, write the perfect resume, you can say to yourself, write a rough draft so that I can refine it later. Instead of clean the entire house, you can just start with one room, one corner, one part of it, right? Small imperfect actions chip away at the perfectionism's, control over us. And I know that this is something that over time, it will change your identity. It's not that you're not going to care about doing things, I wanted to say perfectly for a second, but it's not that you're not going to care about doing things to the best of your abilities. It's just that perfectionism, is a flaw here because it keeps you from getting started. So you never actually see that what your ability is. You never actually get to see the fruit of your, perfectionistic mindset in front of you, right? Hope that makes sense. But it's not that you don't care. Basically what I want to say is not that you don't care. It's just that you want to move forward. You want to overcome that, procrastination hump, because perfectionism gets in the way and it becomes that roadblock, right? So this suggestion right here, lowering the bar, is a way that we can overcome that hump, that we can move past that roadblock, right? Okay, so the second one is fear. Our brain also uses fear to keep us protected and stuck in the moment. This one hides under the surface, right? So, for a business, you might say, if I launch this offer and no one buys it, what does that say about me? What does that say about my business? If I apply for that job and I don't get it, what if that confirms the worst thing I think about myself? Right? If this sounds familiar, that's because that's fear talking. Procrastination steps in here to keep you safe when fear is, talking in the back of our minds. And you and I both know that safety doesn't help us grow. That's why we work on reframing fearful thoughts in coaching, right? So to combat fear-based procrastination, here's what I recommend. Let me give you two, right, that sort of go hand in hand. So number one, name the fear without judging it. Say out loud or write it down, right? Paper, pencil, write it down. I am afraid if I blank, then blank will happen, right? So for example, I am afraid if I start this business, then I will fail, or then I will not succeed, or then I will, something else that your brain is imagining, something horrible happening. Or I am afraid if I go, if I talk to this person or share with them this particular thing that's vulnerable, then they will hate me, or then they won't talk to me, or I will, break this relationship. That's fear talking in the back of our minds, right? So name the fear without judging it first. And second, play out the fear and then sort of like zoom out. Take yourself out of the equation. Sit back and look at it, right? Ask yourself these questions with paper and pencil in hand and write down the answers. Don't just think about it. So, ask yourself these questions like, what's wrong with that? Or let me say that again. What's the worst thing that could happen here? Okay, if I ask for a raise, what's the worst thing that could happen here? What would I do if that thing did happen? Let's just say the worst thing that happened was some sort of snarky remark that you might get, if that's what you're afraid of, right? If you're afraid you're going to get some sort of snarky remark from your boss, what would you do if that actually happened? Okay, write this out. Play it out on paper. Don't just think about it. And then ask yourself, would I survive it? Right? Because we think these thoughts because we believe we're not going to survive it. Like the world is going to end. Right? And it's not just a dramatic thought. This is an actual fear that all of us as humans have. These are fearful thoughts. And then you can ask yourself, will it matter in 1 year or 2 years or 5 years? Will this matter? Right? So this technique, this is called fear setting. It's popularized by Tim Ferriss. His last name is spelled Ferriss. And it helps separate your imagined danger from real risk. Right? So Tim Ferriss is a best-selling author and productivity expert, and he's got a popular book called The 4-Hour Workweek, if you want to check it out. Right? So, think about this. The fear setting activity that helps you separate your imagined danger from real risk. Working on this on paper and pencil helps tremendously. Don't just do it in your head, because our brains, the imagination is going to take it and then run with it. Right? So spoiler alert, you have survived so much already, you will survive this too. All of these fear-based thoughts that show up in our brains that keep us from moving forward on any of our goals, it's, they're just trying to keep us safe. When you're actually thinking about it, working on it, using your, thinking brain to actually work out this problem, like a math problem, it's not going to seem as scary. And with repeated practice, it's not going to seem as scary, and it will not have that control over you as it currently might have over you, right? All right, number 3 is overwhelm. So when everything feels like too much, sometimes procrastination isn't about fear or perfectionism. It's just pure overwhelm, right? You sit down to work, and instead of clarity, your mind sort of sees 10 open loops. All of these, to-do lists, all of these tabs open on your computer. Your brain is spinning in all directions. And because it feels impossible to do everything, you do nothing, right? If this is you, you are not alone. So there's research from American Psychological Association that has shown that overwhelm leads directly to avoidance behaviors like scrolling, snacking, cleaning, or just sitting there feeling frozen. This is why I never tell my children, go clean your room. I tell them what to do specifically in their room, like put away the dolls, pick up the stuffed animals, put the dirty clothes in the laundry room. Telling a child to go clean your room feels overwhelming, especially if they have made a big mess. And you and I also feel the same things. We feel the same way with all the things that we have to do. We just don't have anyone standing over us telling us no dessert unless your room is clean, or no video games unless your room is spotless, right? So here is a recommendation for this to combat overwhelm. So use the just the next step technique. When you're overwhelmed, don't try to finish the whole task, right? Just take the next step. You can open the tab to the document and write the title and, write a draft of whatever it is you're working on. If you're a student, write the draft of the, or the outline of the essay you might be working on. Or if you need to update your resume, open up the resume. You can read through it, delete things that don't apply, and just write a draft of whatever updates you need to make, right? So just do the next step. Whatever it is on your to-do list that you're really dreading, that you're overwhelmed with, just do the next step. Oftentimes, I am really overwhelmed with a birthday party I'm planning for one of my girls. And, the very next step for me is just making a list of what I need to get done in different areas. So when it comes to food, when it comes to presents, inviting people, right? Those are the three main things basically. So if it's food, I'll quickly write down 5 or 6 things. Even if I am not sure, who's going to make it or what the recipe is or what, not, just write down the items. You need drinks, you need cake, you need, sandwiches, you need, stay clear of peanut butter if you're inviting a bunch of other kids, right? So just the next step. If you are dreading going to the gym, go ahead and just put on your gym clothes. Just put on your gym clothes and your socks, right? Just the next step. Okay. All right. So number 4 is confusion or lack of clarity. This one is also sneaky. When your brain isn't totally sure what you're asking it to do, it will absolutely try to avoid doing it. Work on your business is just too vague. Write 3 posts for Instagram. That is specific enough. That is something you can do. So let me just give you a bunch of different ideas here, depending on where you are in your life. So if you're a stay-at-home mom, instead of saying get organized, right? Sort the kids' school papers from last week. That is a better thing to put on your to-do list. When you say get organized, your brain is going to go like, get organized where? In the kitchen, in the living room, in their closets, in the garage, like so much to organize. Instead of saying plan meals, write down, pick 3 dinner recipes. 3 recipes and ingredients in the shopping cart. If you're a college student, instead of saying study for exam, you can write down reread chapter 4 and make flashcards, right? Instead of saying work on paper, right? Just say, write the opening paragraph, write the outline for the paper, read the instructions. If you are a small business owner, instead of saying show up online, right? You can say record 2 reels or make 5 posts or 3 posts. So these are, obviously there are, depending on where you are in your life, these are just a bunch of different examples for you. But the number 1 suggestion that I give, regardless of your walk of life, when you are battling confusion is this. Create a clear language to-do list. So train your brain to use clear, direct language. Your list should start with words like this. Are you ready? Draft, schedule, email, call, buy, cook. You can say things like cook or make chicken and rice. Don't just put make dinner. Send email, right? Your language needs to be very clear to avoid overwhelm and confusion. Over time, this will become second nature, and you will start making your to-do lists with these, sort of action words at the very beginning, right? At the very beginning of your to-do list. All right. So if any of these mindset blocks get in your way, I hope that you'll try these recommendations that I made and give them a try more than a couple of times. Commit to really giving each one a true try for at least 2 to 3 weeks. Stay consistent with it, and I promise you will get so much more out of it. And finally, I just want to say this, that procrastination is a clue. It is a signal. It's not a problem to be judged. It's a pattern to be understood. Each of us has a different pattern when it comes to any area of our lives, but especially with procrastination. We all have a pattern. And the good news is that you can change it. You really can. All right, friends, if this episode helped you, please consider sharing it with a friend. Check out the show notes for a link to a free resource I have for you and a link to schedule a one-on-one consultation call with me if you would like to work with me as your coach. And I just want to say thank you for spending time with me today. You've got this. I am cheering you on. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.